Hi, it's Lynne with Soft Squares. I'm going to show you how to make the block that makes up this quilt. Alright, so to make this quilt, we're going to make a whole bunch of blocks that are all the same. And this is the block right here. So it's going to have a center block and then 4 triangle pieces that have this little, I call it a kite, that goes inside. So to do this, you will need a template, and you can make one, but I can also show you how to get the one that I used. So this is what I was using, is this. It is called the Mini Wacky Web template. This is by Natalie Dawn through Missouri Star Quilt Company. Still got my sticker on there, but this is specifically for a mini charm pack. So this works on a 2.5 inch square, and it gives you these little pieces. And then there's a template that you use to put this together. But I'm also going to show you a way around this. This is by Missouri Star. It's just paper. It's kind of a paper piecing project. But I'm also going to show you a different size. I also have this Wacky Web template, which is for a 5-inch square. So I'm at a retreat. I'm just going to show you what I'm working on. Alright, so this is a project I started 2 years ago. I had to remember how I did it, but I went ahead and have sewn these. You use these little triangle papers. These ones are from Missouri Star, and you're going to use this little template. And let me show you what these look like when they're finished. They look like that. I'm making a bunch of these, and those become this, and that's not pressed yet. And I have to square it up, but that's what I'm working on. So I'll show you more as I get into it. It's a lot of little piecing. So I do pull the paper off the back after I've sewn it together, but that's like the only way I would be able to get this little shape the size it needs to be. So, kind of fun. Excuse me. By the way, Missouri Star, this is their template, and they have, this is for the 2.5 by 2.5 inch square. They also have them going up as big as for the 10 by 10 squares. I call it a kite, but they call it a wacky web or something. But that's the type of block it makes. I'm going to show you the components of the block. So you need a 5 by 5 piece, and you need 8 4 by 2.5 inch pieces, and then you need 4 of these little kites that come from the Wacky template, which is taken from a 2.5 inch mini charm, or you can cut 4 out of a 5 inch charm. Anyway, you're also going to need these. These are the Missouri Star quilts. I don't even know what their name is. They're little triangles. So what you do is you take your glue stick, you draw a little line on here, oops, and you put this guy right here. Now I'm getting everything ready to sew so I can chain piece. And so those are there. I've got one more, and then I'm going to show you how we add the white to the block, and then how to assemble the block. Okay, so I'm done with the glue. Now we're going to take these pieces and I'm going to take this, put it right here, and do a 1/4 inch seam right here. Then you're going to pull it back and then do the same on this side. I'll show you. Okay, so you hopefully saw what I did. I glued that little piece on, did a 1/4 inch with this white, folded it over, came over and did this side, and I've just finger pressed it. Now I'm going to flip this over, and now I'm going to trim the fabric to match the size of my paper. And after I do all 4 of those, I'm going to peel this paper off, and there's a little bit of glue right here to hold it in place, so but it's a glue stick, so it comes right off. You saw that, right? I took my piece, trimmed it up to match what's going on back here, and now I'm going to, not one-handed people, peel the paper off the back. See if I can do this, sorry. And that's what the back looks like. So the paper was just to give me lines and to hold it in place. And that is it. So I've got 1 more to trim up, and then we'll be assembling the block. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we do next with this. Take this block, find your middle. Give it a little crease. Take this, you know what your middle is because it's that point. Now you're going to put it on here, and pin it is probably not a bad thing. Okay, and we do the same with the other side. What's now going to happen is I'm going to finger press this, and because there's so much going on here, I'm going to finger press it so that this is flat, so it's going into the middle. Okay, now I'm going to take the next 2 pieces, put this one here, put this one here, and then I will square it up when I square up all the others. Don't forget to press it really well. I'm going to take this over to the pressing table and press it, but this is what you get when you're done. It's pretty ugly right now, but I will square them up when I am all done to make sure I'm getting them all the same size. That one's a little better. So here's just some of the other blocks that I have put together. So you want a really nice, crisp, clean press like that. I think that one's actually been squared up. Yeah, it has been. So this is what I have left to assemble. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll see when it's time to figure out what order these are going to be put together. This template right here is for a 5-inch square. It's also through, there we go, Missouri Star Quilt Company. So here's a package of 5x5 charms, and you can see how it fits on there really well. You have very little waste, you're just trimming that part off. And that's the same that goes for the mini charms. Okay, so here's our mini. Here's our little template. See how that goes on there? And you just trim off these parts. They're called a wacky web template. I call it a kite. It looks like a little kite. So I've already made a quilt, this one behind me, using this one. Now I'm going to make a little bit bigger version using this. And so the way that this works is these are the 2.5-inch charm squares, mini charms, and then these are the 5x5 charms. This, the center of the one I'm making, will take a 5.5-inch, or sorry, 5x5 charm for the outside and a 10x10 in the middle. So the blocks are going to be 4 times the size. So I don't need as many. So I'm going to show you how I modify this, because I actually do not have 5x5 pieces of the fabric I want to use, but that's okay. I'm using charm pack, or sorry, the layer cake. And we all know a layer cake, half of a layer cake is a 5x5 charm. So I'm going to be cutting these down. But what I'm going to use is this fabric from Tuesday Morning, and I really like them because there's only 5 colors of fabric, or 5 prints per grouping. They have multiples. I think there's like 8 of each one. And here are 4 of the 5 out of the one I want to use. And that's because they all have the white background, and this is the 5th one, so I'm pulling this one out. Might use it on the border, I don't know. And I decided, in place of the white on this quilt, I'm going to use this really pretty gray. So you kind of get an idea of how this is going to look. And then so I'm showing you what I'm looking at. This is the Quiltology squares. Anyway, this is the package that comes in from Tuesday Morning. This is a 20-piece pack. Their layer cakes are not 40, they're 20. So you have to get 2 of these if you need a full layer cake. I actually don't. So I was able to cut into 1. However, we'll have to see if I end up cutting into those or not. But anyway, I also have a fat quarter bundle, and there's just the 5 colors, the 5 fabrics. So between these 2 and this, I have more than I need. So let's start cutting. I want to show you, I have this little template I was just showing you. I also have this. It's a mini hex and more. If you put this on top of it, take this off. Hold on, there. If you put this on top of it, you basically have the same thing. So the bottom is exactly the same, but when you come up to where these lines are, then you would just go straight up to make a point near the top. You can also make this template. This is the paper you're going to need. You're going to be able to use your own paper if you want. For the little teeny ones, you need a 4 3/4 inch square, and then you're going to cut it in half on the diagonal, and then you're going to get your paper. So you could use the paper, you can make your own. The template, you're going to put your piece right here, use some glue. I'm just using this stick glue, but you're going to glue your little piece of fabric here, and then take your accent fabric, or your white, or in my case it's going to be yellow when I get to the bigger one, and you're going to have your pieces sewn on here, and you're going to straighten it. So I'll show you some footage of how I was making that. Now if you don't have either one of these, it's okay. I have some measurements on how to make these if you're interested for this size. So again, it's a 4 3/4 inch square cut on the angle. And then this is a charm pack. So if you take one of your charms, put this on here, see how it, okay, it's slippery, or not slippery. See how that uses up almost the whole thing? You're going to trim a little bit off and then straighten the bottom. And if you put this on here 2.5, you can see that the template itself is almost to the 2 mark. So you could make this yourself. I would make something out of plastic or something that would be a little more durable than a piece of paper, or you could even use cardboard, like the board that comes on the bottom of these fat quarters or a layer cake. Let's do that. So if you don't have the template, you may want to just kind of play with it and make one out of the first piece. Like I said, you're going to go about 2. Here's the 2-inch mark, so you're going to go a little bit shy of that, and then just bring it down to almost to the corner. Then you're going to go across here. So you're going to need a 1/2 inch across the bottom here, and this is for your seam allowances because you're going to be folding over. I promise it will make sense. So then you can take this and cut it out. I'm actually today going to be using this bigger one. And same thing, you're going to take your 5x5 square. I'm going to trace it on here so I have it, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's the square. I draw so straight. Anyway, you're going to come in 1, 2, 3.5, it looks like, and then come down. You're going to leave again that 1/2 inch down here, and this actually shows you your stitch line. So this will make a point when you're done. Okay, and then your template for this one is all going to be relative, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So I would recommend doing something like this or purchasing these. Now I bought this at a quilt store and this online. Nope, this was on Quilt Store. This was online. Anyway, and I believe, I could be wrong, but I think they even have one for a 10x10 inch square, a really big one. If not, you can make one. Here's your big 10-inch square. We can kind of come up with one. Oh, I wonder how we would do that. So this actually, if you go from here to here, it is, I've got some measurements written down. 1.75 inches from the corner to where you are drawing your line, starting your line. The size of this little one is 2.5. Nope, 2 1/4. 2.25 is on here. This is 4.75. 1, 2, 3.5. This one's 3.5. So if you look at this, it's actually just about doubling everything. So 2 of these equals that. 2 of that is a little shy of that. We're all relative. So I wonder if to make the big 10x10 template, I can do this. 7. So doubling that, making it 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it would go down. Whoa. Just make a little mark right here. There's always a little 1 inch at the bottom. We'll come up a little bit like that. My little ruler is not big enough to do what I want to do right now. So, that's all right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one. Okay, so from here and here, we're going down to here. Let's just see how close we come. We're gonna come back over to here. Where's the glue? Here's the glue. You just need enough to hold this in place. So I don't probably put more than I need, but that's how that works. Now, see, we're at least the width of that. I can put this here, come down 1/4 of an inch, press it back, put this side on here, 1/4 of an inch, press it back. Okay, so I did what I said, put that there, and I finger pressed it back. I laid this piece across here. It is going to overlap that bottom piece. And now I'm finger pressing it. I could take it to the iron, but I'm not going to because I'm not sure what will happen with this. I don't have a lot of experience working with wax paper. So this seems to be pretty flat. You'll have to tell me if you guys have used an iron on wax paper and what I should do. Okay, so it's hard to see because this is clear, but here's the edge of this one, and there's that one. So I've got my ruler right on that straight edge of the wax paper, and all I'm doing is trimming it down to the size of the wax paper. Not worried about the top, and we are going to square this block down. There's our block. There we are. I'm going to make 3 more of these, and I have, so all 4 of mine will be the same in the same block. There's another one of these somewhere. So I'm going to make 3 more, and then we're going to put it together with the big 10 by 10 block. I'm going to keep the middle piece the same as my outside pieces because I actually have, the way my fabric is, I have equal numbers. So because this takes 1 fat quarter, or sorry, I keep calling it fat quarter, layer cake to do these 4, and then 1 here, and I have 4 total in this 1 pack. So here's enough for the other one. And then I still have the other one, so I can make 2 more blocks. So I can get a total of 4 blocks between the 2 packs that are this exact same thing. So that would give me, let's see here, 4, 16 big blocks. And this block is 16 and a half-ish, 16, probably about 16 with this, after it's sewn. So 16. Look how cute that one is. Oh. 16 blocks means 4 by 4 quilts. Oh, sorry. Oh, 16 blocks, but there's 16 inches too. How's that? So this will be roughly 64 by 64 square with just the blocks if I only make the 16 blocks, which means 4 of each color using the two layered cakes that I have and pulling this dark gray one out. That might be a good binding. That might be really good for the binding, or not at all, but that might work there. But then I can put a border of some kind on here, and then the binding if I want it to be bigger. But this is square. Now if I want it to be more, I have these, and I can get at least 1 block out of each of these, because it will be, so okay, let's just pretend we're gonna do that. We know we don't like this one, so that means 4 more, right? Here's our bonus row. So that now makes our row, our total blocks be, oh wait a minute. That makes this 20. So 64 by 70 with 5 rows. Come over here, 64 by 70 is what I'm coming up with, which makes it not quite a twin. Wow. So if I left it at 64 square, that's just a big throw. I like that idea. I think I'm going to do that and not cut into these. We're just going to do a big square throw blanket. Throw quilt. There we go. But if I want to make that extra row, I can pull the stuff out of here and I can get it to 64 by 80. Oh, by 80. I gotta get my pen. Anyway, I did math wrong. 64 by 87. Oh, now see, I can make it a twin if I wanted to add some borders to it. It just needs about 8 to 10 inches around it in borders, which could easily be a 3 and a 4-inch border. And that would make it kind of a mid-size twin. I'm going to keep it with this square one here, I think. Let's just see how it goes. I might decide to add more as I go. I also am limited on how much of this I have. I didn't even measure it when I started. We might be limited to how far this goes. This is by Hoffman, California International Fabrics. Where is it? 24/7 linen. It's a linen print, but it's a linen woven. Okay. And in case you're wondering, that's what this one is. And then the fabric line that I'm using by Quiltlogic. I think that's a C or an E. Anyway, it is called Sunshine. I think this is just so pretty. And I'm even thinking of maybe doing on the back yellow. Let's see. All right, let's sew this block together. So I'm going to first add these two sides, press them open, come back and add these two and press them open. Now the key to doing this is centering it. So I would recommend doing this, so folding it in fourths and coming over here and creasing right on the line. I'm doing it again over here and crease right on that fold where the center is. Okay, so now you have 4 little crease marks, which are hard to see on this block, I'm sorry. You're going to line that crease up with the point of this. And so here is a good place to pin, or in my case, clip. Okay, same thing over here. Come right to the fold. Now we have overhang, and that's okay. That's gonna help these when we put these on. So let me sew these two. My iron is not hot, and it's not convenient to get it going, so I'm just gonna finger press, but what I'm doing is I'm pressing everything in, okay, because there's a lot of bulk with these seams. So see, it will just lay nice and flat. Trying to do it this way, it just will make some thickness right there, okay. So now we have this. Now we're gonna take these two pieces, and don't worry about how they line up over here, because again, we are gonna trim this up, but you do wanna find that little finger press that we just did. Line this up, and I'm noticing on this particular block I'm losing my points. That one is okay, this one wasn't. I think maybe I need just a little more space on the wax paper, so maybe go out another 1/4 of an inch just to play it safe. That might be the best way to do that. So here you're actually going to start clear over here and sew all the way across. And then we're going to come back and square everything up. I like to square everything at the same time, so at the end, but we're going to square this one, even though I'm not to that point. It's just nice to see, you know, what you need to square it up to, because sometimes things just get off a little bit and one block's a little smaller, then you have to like square everything to that block. So I'd rather figure that out before I start the process. All right, I'll be back. All right, I'm done here. Now, we lost that point, right? Because the point ended up being like below the stitch line. On this side, I took my needle down so that I can keep more of my point. We'll see how that goes. Now, honestly, we're gonna trim these off. Let's do that right now. And then finger press this, also pushing that to the middle. Okay. And at this point, I would have you hit it with an iron. I'm just not able to get to it right now. Okay, there's our block before it gets squared up. Look how interesting that is with having this grain the way it is. How it's interesting. It's just kind of cool. Yeah, 15 and a half, a little over. And that is our block. It's not pressed, you know, finger pressing is all I have done. So it'll be really nice and pretty when it's completely finger pressed or completely pressed. But I'm going to keep working on these, and when I get to where it is finished, I will show you the finished project in another video, but this is how I made the quilt that's behind me. This is just a smaller version, and like here's the bigger one. See, it takes up 4 spaces. So think how big this is going to be when I do this with this one. But look how cool. So this one I used 4 of the same fabric in the corners and an alternating one in the middle, and this one I did with a gray instead of white, but I used the same fabric for the middle and the center. You can even make it patchy so nothing is the same, or you know, just a 2-tone quilt where you don't even use a layer cake or a pre-cut and just use 2 fabrics throughout the whole thing. That would be really pretty. So anyway, lots of things you can do. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for being here today. Have a good day.